Hey everybody, it's Addison Smith here with Real Life Network reporting from Athens, Georgia, where, as I'm sure you all remember, in February of last year, UGA student Laken Riley was kidnapped, assaulted, and murdered by an illegal alien. It's one of, if not the most infamous tragedy to come from Joe Biden's border crisis. From fiscal year 2021 to 2024, Border Patrol officers encountered a whopping 10.8 million illegal aliens. That's more than, in a single term, than any other president in American history. And to make matters worse, Biden reinstated catch and release. So millions of these illegals were simply processed and released into the United States, including Jose Ibarra, Laken Riley's killer. It is horrific stories like this that earned the title Biden's Border Betrayal for a July 22nd hearing by the U.S. Senate's subcommittee on border security and immigration, where 8 expert witnesses, including former immigration prosecutor and judge Andrew Arthur, testified on the catastrophic consequences of criminal aliens who still remain on American soil. Here, Arthur shed light on one of the biggest impediments that ICE faces today: sanctuary cities. Listen to this.
When I was an INS trial attorney in California in the mid-1990s, there were few at-large arrests because most jurisdictions allowed immigration officers into their jails and other secure facilities to take custody of criminal aliens. That cooperation degraded in the mid-2010s as jurisdictions began implementing, quote, sanctuary policies, close quote, to impede ICE enforcement. Sanctuary policies only protect criminals, and if they were to end, ICE would likely be too busy processing criminals in local jails to perform many at-large arrests.
And what do you know? Laken Riley's killer is a textbook example of this. Jose Ibarra entered the U.S. illegally, then was arrested in New York City for endangering his wife's son. But before ICE could issue a detainer to deport him, he was again released. So if an illegal alien with one additional criminal arrest is capable of cold-blooded murder, how much less safe are we with the hundreds of thousands of criminal aliens who, according to a 2011 study by the Government Accountability Office, have an average of 7 arrests to each of their names? What other country would allow someone to illegally enter their nation, then go on to commit strings of crimes over and over again, and still, after all of that, be allowed to stay? Now, thankfully, the Trump administration has been doing everything they can to make these deportations happen and have already had a great deal of success. 300,000 illegals have been arrested since January. That's more than the previous 2 fiscal years combined. However, Arthur points out that the rate of arrests proportionate to the population has actually gone down dramatically, due in part to leaders like Biden, who have made open borders a hallmark of their policies.
The average immigration officer made 500 alien arrests per year in 1984, at a time when the unauthorized population was significantly smaller. The hard-earned lessons of September 11th were ignored over the last 4 years, as the last administration released millions of unvetted aliens into our communities, too many of whom have gone on to harm innocent victims here.
In a time of so much partisanship, deportations are the bridge that unites across party lines. Harvard released a poll showing 75% of Americans support the mass deportation of criminal aliens. And as Arthur points out, immigration enforcement is a federal issue, not a local one. Bottom line is this: when you cross the border illegally, your first act on U.S. soil was to commit a crime by default. And when on top of that you go on to terrorize citizens of the country you broke into, the only answer in response is common sense. They must be sent home. Let's pray for President Trump and his administration that they are successful in these efforts, that they are able to ramp up these deportations. And let's pray for the officials across the country that God may soften their hearts to this wrongdoing, this sanctuary city madness, so that truth, order, and justice may prevail. From Athens, Georgia, I'm Addison Smith.